you beautiful people. I'm Jennifer Ziliotto. A few weeks ago, when it was the last of the farmer's market, I went and I stocked up on a bunch of things, notably squash, because I love eating squash in the wintertime. Unfortunately, my family doesn't love it as much as me. So I've learned a few things that I make simply for myself that I know freeze well, so that when I'm in a pinch for lunch, I have something warm that I can eat. It's usually vegetable based, and then I'm really happy. So today I want to show you one of my mother-in-law's recipes that she passed on to me because she realized she doesn't like squash either. Salut Gladys, je fais une de tes recettes. I have to say it in French because she watches all my videos even though she doesn't speak English. So sweet. Gladys, je dis que tu regardes tous mes vidéos, même si tu comprends pas anglais, c'est tellement gentil de ta part. En tout cas, aujourd'hui, je fais une de tes recettes, le gratin de butternut. As they say in French, I think it's so funny. It's a butternut squash gratin. But before I get started with the recipe, I want to introduce you to the lovely producer of these gorgeous squash, Patrick. So Patrick, tell me a little bit about your beautiful squash.
For this time of year, we are in the end of October, so we have that kind available is the butternut, and that's a really nice flavor of squash and really easy to use, and you cook in different types of meal with it. It's very nice. The pepper one are a bit less sugar, but still very nice. We also have how's the name? Buttercup or Sweet Mama. That's the one you can do with soup or even with the, I don't know in English, puree. So they're easy to cook with it. And still available is the delicata, the one that you can also eat the skin. The skin is still good to
I love the delicata.
And so you can also bake in the oven. And you add the olive oil on that, and a different type of herbs or something like that. And also the old style of squash or the spaghetti squash, the one then look like a pasta in your when you cook in the oven.
And that orange one, that's a sort of like a hybrid of the spaghetti squash?
The orange one, we call it, let me remember the name. It's another kind of spaghetti squash, but a little bit more sugar on it. It's the a really new one. It's the second year we have it, but they're a bit more tender on that. Because the old style of the spaghetti squash is like it's very heavy and it's looked like hard stuff. So that one they cook faster.
Okay, so what we need here for this recipe, which is terribly simple, you're going to see, is one butternut. I'm using not a very big one because I don't want to make a lot. So I'm going for the smaller one. I have some cream, some whipping cream. I know you're thinking, it's going to be caloric, but it's worth it. I have some lardon, which is basically like a bacon, but a thicker cut that I'm going to fry up a little bit. And then I have, this is also from the farmer's market, and then I have some beautiful goat cheese. Very, very simple. That's it. I have my gratin dish. And voila. So to start, I am going to peel and cut the butternut and get it ready for the gratin dish. I'm also going to preheat my oven to 375 degrees. So while I'm cutting and peeling my squash, I'm going to go ahead and start in a small frying pan with a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to start to cook my lardons. The only reason why I like to do that is because I don't really like it when lardons are really chewy. Personally, I prefer them to be a little bit crispy. If you like them chewy, then feel free to not do this step. If you want to make this completely vegetarian, then you could use diced up olives on top, or sun-dried tomatoes would be delicious. Something that's a little bit salty, because you want the sweetness of the squash to be balanced with a little bit of a salty flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. I have probably half a cup of lardon. Actually might be a little bit more than I need, but I want to use up all this lardon, so I'm going to make it quite lardon-y. So my lardons are starting to fry up, which is great. And I am just going to cut this squash, scoop out the seeds really easy. So I'm just going to cut it in half, scoop out the seeds, and now I'm going to just cut this squash in relatively thin slices like this, sort of crescent moon slices. And that's it. Then I'll load them into my gratin dish. And you don't need to butter your dish. You can just place them in right away. There's so much cream, you don't have to worry about it sticking. Having my friend Joanna over for lunch tomorrow. You may remember her, for those of you who made it to the trunk show. She's been working with me. We're going to get a little bit of work done, and I'm going to serve this to her. Next, I'm going to cover this in cream. I'm using full fat whipping cream. Are you gasping at how fattening this sounds? Oh my God, it's so good though. And I kind of figure with the fact that it's a vegetable that you're eating covered in cream, it's better than what it could potentially be, right? So you want to kind of, ooh, totally decadent. You want to kind of cover your squash in cream. Can you see this? Oops. I'm going to put on a little bit of pepper, a tiny little bit of salt, but you don't really need much because the lardons are going to go on top. Then I'm going to put the goat cheese and then get it in the oven. Got my lardons and they're nice and crispy. They're not too overcooked because this is still going in the oven. And looking at this, eyeballing this, I think that this is too many lardons. I wanted to cook them because it needed to get used up. And I don't want all that extra fat, so I'm just going to use a spoon here and scoop it over. You don't want too much because you don't want this to overtake the flavors of this dish. So I think what I'm going to do is, now that I've cooked this lardon, I'm going to save it and put the rest of it in a salad to go with our beautiful gratin. So as you see, I used probably half. So, and you don't even really need that much. It's just to give a little bit of a flavor. Looks beautiful. And lastly, I have goat cheese to go on top. You don't need much. Again, this adds a nice little tartness. I bought a semi-firm, look at this beauty of a goat cheese to go on top. You can use those simple logs that are easy to find. You can use a runnier goat cheese if you want. You could use cheddar. Why not? Whatever you kind of have on hand. That's the whole idea of gratin, is sort of like to get rid of some of your things that are lying around. But as you can see, this guy is not terribly creamy, still quite firm. Delicious, making my mouth water. And I'm just going to cut this and place it on top. I won't use all of this goat cheese because I don't need to. Brie would also be good here if you like a milder cheese. But since there's all that cream in there, the goat cheese feels like a good choice to counterbalance all that extra fat and cholesterol. Anyway, the one thing about this, I have to defend my gratin, is that I find because it's quite rich, you don't really end up eating that much. Easily be 2 lunches. And it freezes really, really well. So there we go. This is how it looks before it goes in the oven. And now I'm going to put it in the oven for about half an hour, 40 minutes. So that's it. That's how simple it is. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And of course, for more style ideas, for more inspiration, for more recipes, then you can continue to follow me on Facebook and on Instagram.
Et sur ça, à chacun de vous, at each of you, bon appétit!